Hello, my friends. How are you? Thank you for stopping by. My name is Jason. This is the Outstanding Life Show. Today we're talking about patterns and how the show title is Breaking an Old Pattern Can Help Create a New World. And when I was in the heat of my addiction, one of the hardest things I had challenges with were patterns. Patterns themselves, they got me stuck in a rut. I was having a very poor community, like a very, very poor support structure. I was doing very poor health decisions, like I wasn't eating healthy, I wasn't looking after myself, I wasn't getting any exercise. So I think that's up to 3 different things I wasn't doing. And I wasn't having the best healthy mindset either. So all of those things combined, they were definitely not helping me out. And so trying to break through that pattern by changing my mindset, by getting myself a new support structure, by changing my environment, by getting out, getting some exercise, getting a gym membership even, buying a bike. These kinds of things can definitely help introduce new change. And so that's what we're talking about today, is the introduction of change and the breaking of those patterns. Breaking up patterns can allow us to have new experiences and to introduce new worlds, kind of like the title says. So if we never introduce any change, we never introduce any new worlds. And so being stuck in a rut, it never really helped me out. Being single mindset, not open to the idea of change, I wasn't entertaining the ability of getting better or getting help or even recognizing that there was anything wrong. And it wasn't until things built up to the point that, hey, you know what? Things were not healthy. Hey, you know what? I'm not doing the best. And it wasn't until I was open to the idea, until I had been presented with lesson after lesson after lesson. I almost want to say of hardship, but these were things that I had control over. These were events that I could help shape and change. And it wasn't until afterwards that I had begun to realize that these were slow-moving things that eventually built up to the point where my life had become unmanageable. And if I wait for these decisions to build up, it's always going to become a train wreck of a story. And it's never really that beneficial. It's never really that helpful. In hindsight now, I look back and these were the right conversations I needed. These were the right trials and tribulations I needed to experience in order for me to be open and willing to allow change through. And so that's kind of what we're chatting about today. Nobody wants to be stuck in a rut. Nobody wants to have any fear of change, I want to say. But what we do want to have is we want to be able to challenge ourselves in a healthy way. We want to be able and willing, yes, but we also want to be open to the idea that maybe what we're doing right now isn't always the best. Maybe what we're doing right now isn't the healthiest. Maybe what we're thinking right now, I don't want to say it's not the safest, but there could be other ways of interpreting that event. You know, what else could this mean? What else could this mean if we were to label something or put a value on it? Maybe this experience I'm feeling right now, maybe it doesn't feel good in the moment, but maybe there's something else I can take away from it. Maybe I can grow with it or grow through it. I went to this Tony Robbins event in New York, and he had this idea, and it was, what if things were not happening to you, but what if they were happening for you? And that idea really stuck with me. That idea was like, holy cow, I can't imagine that. I don't want to say that I wouldn't have chosen this, but if I were to appreciate this in a different way, how else would I appreciate it? You know, how else would I go and, I don't say label or dismiss this, but maybe this means I can choose something better. Hold on, I just flipped this backwards. Maybe this means I can have a new life, or I can share this in a new way. Speaking of sharing, I'm just going to share this right now. And now I'm at a spot in my life where I entertain the idea of, you know, if I was wrong in my thinking right now, or if I was going to be open and willing to seeing new change, what would that look like? So I've helped created a structure in my life that introduces a sense of gratitude, yes, but what can I do to challenge myself every day to, I don't want to say try new things, but being open to the idea of exploring what that would look like. So one of the things I do is I have a gratitude moment every day. And so I am thankful for the opportunity to try new things. The other day I was at work, and I was approached, and then I was challenged in a way that I was like, hey, you know what? I'm excited to try this new thing. I'm excited to try it out and see how it's going to work. It's not that I didn't think I could accomplish it, but I liked that somebody believed in me enough that I could do it. I wasn't thinking about it in that scale before. I was thinking on a much more smaller scale. And when I was approached at work and says, hey, would you like to try this thing? And then I thought, you know what? I'll bet you I could. And I'm excited for the opportunity to try it out. So one, I'm being open and willing, and two, I'm entertaining the idea of success, and I'm trying to map out what that would look like. Okay, so that's my gratitude moment of the day. And so what are some actions? I mean, what are you thankful for today? When it comes to change and adopting that open-mindedness, what are some things that you do to be open-minded with changes that happen in your everyday life? If you have a minute, leave in the comments, say hello. But before we go, I want to leave an action, and I want to say, what are some things, not just you're open to, but what are some things you're actually going to do? What are some things that you are going to ensure that you're going to be open to that change when it does arise? Or are you going through a change right now? Just like when I shared at work, I was like, well, how am I going to do that? I don't know how I'm going to do that. But I was excited to the open idea of success and this change, and putting them together and then trying to paint a picture of what that would look like. So believing in it, not so much in just the blind faith, or I'm sure it's going to work out, but more so in the idea of, how would I do this if I were to do it? How would I succeed if I were to succeed? With this change, I mean. And so I quickly came up with an action plan, what I'm doing right now versus what I want to be doing with this change in mind. So I came up with an idea of how I can do it, how I can scale what I was working on to include this new change. And I came up with a couple ideas, and I started reworking how I would approach the whole project I was working on. So I wouldn't have been able to do that if I wasn't challenged in a healthy way. And again, that comes with being open-minded to the change, willing to follow through with it, as well as being able to, I don't want to say just have the passion, but have the ability to believe that you can do it. Not so much in a blind faith kind of way, in a realistic, how would I do this if I were to do it? How would I follow through if I were to follow through? And of course, you actually do want to follow through. Somebody that watches this show, An Outstanding Life, will follow through with their commitments. And that's where, if I wasn't open to the idea, I wouldn't actually follow through with it. And if I wasn't challenged in a healthy way, if I wasn't open to being approached, these are all roadblocks. These are all walls that are put up. When in the heat of my addiction, I pushed so many people away. I wasn't open to the idea of letting people in. I wasn't willing to listen to what people were sharing. It was a very linear approach to life, and it wasn't happy. I wasn't healthy. I wasn't mindful. I wasn't very productive. None of these things were what I wanted to achieve. I went and I was in a few years ago, I was in Hawaii 4 years ago, and I was a tourist in Hawaii, obviously. I mean, being from Canada. And when I was there, I saw there was a McDonald's, and I was like, I want to go into a McDonald's in Hawaii. How exotic. What is that going to look like? So I went into Hawaii, or I was in Hawaii, and I walked into the McDonald's, and I saw on the menu, it said something like, I think it was Spam. And another thing I saw was grits, Grits. And I was like, we don't have that in Canada. And so I was on a tour later on, and I mentioned it to the tour guide. He's like, Jason, what is the most exciting thing that you have seen here while you're here? And then I told him about the grits and the Spam on the McDonald's menu. And then before he could reply, he actually stopped and he asked the question. He was like, so Jason, when you're in McDonald's in Canada, do you have poutine on your menu? And I was like, well, yeah, of course we have poutine in the menu. It's McDonald's. All McDonald's have poutine. And he said, you didn't see poutine in the Hawaiian McDonald's, did you? And I'm like, no. No, I didn't. And then other people on the tour also mentioned some of the things they have on their McDonald's. They're like in Japan, they have like octopus, and other ones have like lobster. So different McDonald's all over the world have different items. And so he had shared, some of the cultural things, no matter where we go, may be different than where we are back home. And then I appreciated that moment. I was like, I never wanted to try grits because I didn't know what it was. They explained to me what it was. But the idea of having Spam on the menu, I've only had Spam like growing up as a kid, but I've never seen it on a menu. And he's like, oh, it's delicious. You should try it. And then that got me thinking, for the rest of the trip, for the rest of my time when I was on vacation, rather than follow my linear approach to what I was going to eat or what I thought was safe for food, or sticking to my regiment of my safe foods I'm going to eat, I decided I was going to try something different. And it was, every time I sat down to eat, the person that would serve me over at the restaurant, or whoever came over, I would ask them, hey, you work here? And then they would say yes. And then I would ask them, so when you sit down and you order food, what are some of the things you eat? What's your favorite menu item? If you could order anything on the menu, what would you order? And then I would roll the dice on that. And some people I had asked, they came up with some really unique things I never would have thought of. I had like macadamia pancakes one morning, or I had, lobster mac and cheese at the Hard Rock Cafe. Things I never would have tried on my own, but they were delicious. These were amazing. The macadamia nut pancakes, holy cow. But if I had just stuck to my regular regiment, my Canadian safe meal, I wouldn't have ever tried it. And if I never tried it, I probably wouldn't have had as much of a good experience on my holiday if I was only open to seeing the world in a very linear mindset. So what I'm sharing is, if I'm only ever thinking in one linear dimension, I'm only ever going to experience the world in one linear way. If I'm open to the idea of expanding my world to a third dimension, if I'm willing to try something different, and I'm willing to follow through with it, I might be surprised at what the outcome is. So, my question to you, what are some things you're going to do when it comes to trying things new? When you're trying something different or you're exploring something new, of course, always make sure you're safe, whatever you're doing, be it food or if it's out traveling. You can never be too careful. But being open to the idea, that's where challenging yourself in a healthy way, or being challenged by somebody either at work or a peer or an accountability group. That's one of the things I like about going to meetings, like AA meetings, is we have that sense of community where we can follow up with each other, how things were going. And that part of a community I love giving back to, and I like being a part of. So I'm always open to trying a new meeting or going to a new place. So things I'm willing to do is go to a new meeting in a new place, try new foods, and then expand and take on new projects when I'm presented with the opportunity. Okay, so that's today's. I'm trying out these new simple videos where they're very short. I'm trying things new for this season 2. Let me know what you think in the comments. If you want to know more, let me know. Leave a comment, say hello, shoot me a message, ask some questions. I did put a link in the description up above or down below. So if you want to go check out the season 1 videos, go to outstanding.video/guide. And I've got a video guide for you in case you want to go check it out. Anyway, take care. Have fun. Bye, everybody.